Hello, I'm here at the local library to me in the Colinton Fairmile Head Ward, Colinton Library. And I was in the library a few weeks ago and I noticed a book in the teenagers section, a book that I'd made videos about before, commented on before, Beyond Magenta, Transgender Teens Speak Out. This is a very controversial book. There's been controversy about it the world over. I'll just read you the particular controversial section, make sure there's no one coming who might overhear this. Right, so this is from the book. I was sexually mature. What I mean by sexually mature is that I knew about sex from 6 up. I used to kiss other guys in my neighbourhood, make out with them and perform oral sex on them. I liked it, I used to love oral, and I touched their you-know-whats. We were really young, but that's what we did. Right, so this book has got about a 6-year-old saying that he used to enjoy sexual activity, basically. Now, when I saw that on the bookshelf, I actually went up to the counter in the library and said, I don't think this ought to be in the library. This is not suitable material at all. This is the sort of material that someone with a sexual interest in children would look at and think, oh, well, that's good. That just shows, doesn't it? It just shows that 6-year-olds do enjoy sexual activity like that. So they said, okay, fair enough. We'll put the book to one side, email head office or whatever, and they'll give you the official verdict on what we're going to do about it. So I emailed the email address that they gave to me, and I got the reply, and the reply from Edinburgh City Council Libraries Department was, okay, we'll move it to the adult section instead of the teenage section. In other words, they thought it's okay for adults to read about allegedly 6-year-old boys who enjoy engaging in sexual activity. I mean, is that any better than it being in the teenager section? As far as I'm concerned, not really. But what do we expect from Edinburgh City Libraries? I mean, they're big on the drag queen story hours for little children, etc., etc. So it's par for the course. But as far as I'm concerned, that book should have gone straight in the bin. There's no way a penny of council taxpayers' money should have been spent on it, and there's no way it should have been suitable to be in any section of the library. It should be in the bin. Well, I'm here at the City Arts Centre. You remember a while ago I alerted you to some basically egregious anti-Brexit propaganda that the council has spent I don't know how many £1,000 on. I mean, it depicts Brexit supporters as a cross between like a pig and an orc, implies that they're bloodthirsty, implies that Brexit supporters are sort of mindless minions of obnoxious leaders. Doesn't matter what you think about Brexit. It's also anti-British as well. These figures are draped in the Union flag. So this is political propaganda. It doesn't matter what your view about the issue is. This is not the council's job to produce, frankly, hate-mongering political propaganda and to purchase it to put in its public galleries. Now, I wrote to the council about this and said this is demonising a section of the public. It's hate-mongering. You wouldn't do this to any other section of the public. Would you do it to Muslims? Would you do it to Scottish nationalists? Of course not. You wouldn't dream of it. But when it comes to Brexit supporters, well, it seems anything goes. So I've come along to the City Arts Centre today, and let's go and have a look if it's still there. So needless to say, it is still there. When I wrote to them, I said, don't bother replying just saying, oh, we include works that address contemporary issues. That's not the point. The point is, this is hate-mongering political propaganda. And they replied, They replied saying, we include works that address contemporary issues. And the art was chosen by a committee. In other words, they didn't even begin to engage with the issue that I'd raised. They completely ignored it, just reply with cut and paste waffle, and that's what you can expect. Okay, why did I bother writing? I mean, I knew that's what the reply was going to be. So why did I bother writing? The point is to show that there's no point in writing. Because the way this needs to be tackled is by changing the council. Okay, it's SNP Labour Council, this is what you get. Have the Conservatives objected to this? No, they don't know what's going on, they don't care, not bothered, whatever. So, we need change, so that needs to come by voting for what you believe in. Thought I knew my Colinton and Fairmile Head ward pretty well. I've known people and know people who live in pretty well all parts of it. I've walked around and run around and cycled around various bits. But I discovered a part of Oxgangs just the other day, leafleting, that I really hadn't been into before. It was a bit of a shock. I mean, the standard of the buildings, the state of the buildings, was pretty grim. I often run round, Wester Hales, Colinton, Mains, other parts of Oxgangs, and okay, some areas are a bit nicer than others, some are rather less salubrious, but I've never come across anything quite like this section of Oxgangs. It's maybe the worst housing I've seen anywhere in Edinburgh. Quite a shock. I mean, the last video I made was about the City Council spending money on sort of anti-Brexit propaganda to put in the art gallery. I don't know how many thousands of pounds, but surely I would suggest money needs to be diverted to just get a bit of basic maintenance in these areas. On the other hand, just next to this area in Oxgangs, there's some new accommodation. I would guess, 10 years old maybe. Rows of modern terraced houses. They're quite characterful. They look great, I would say. They've got a little driveway, little lawn in front. They're really good. And then compared to what I've just been describing, I mean, a light and day difference. But it's quite sad to see them deteriorating as well. There's just a little driveway, a tiny, tiny little bit of garden in front of each. But quite a lot of them are just getting filled with weeds. The drives are filled with weeds. The lawn's unkempt. You can see piles of junk piling up in front of people's houses. It's a real shame. At the rate that's going, give it another 10 or 20 years, then maybe those lovely new little houses will be looking pretty undesirable as well. Just the area will be just looking a mess, scruffy and unpleasant. I don't know why that is. I don't know if those houses are rented. Maybe people look after their homes, take a bit more pride in them when they own them. I don't know the situation. But it's a shame to see that decline. And I think it just shows it's not a simple issue to deal with. It's not just a matter of building the right accommodation. It's about people taking responsibility for their community, for their property in their community as well. I can't see any easy answers to that in particular. As the Scottish Family Party, though, our policy is that we do want to maximise the number of people who can buy their own property. So people who want to buy the home to live in, we want it to be possible for them to do that. We have various policies to try and make that possible. So that's one of the answers we've got to this situation. Well, welcome to Craiglockhart and Colinton Dells. I know that's where we are because the council has installed some new signs to tell us. There's some nice new signs. That's the icing on the cake, isn't it? So let's have a look what's actually going on in the Dell, shall we? What's happening here? Let's have a look. Bridge closed, please use alternative route. Right, this path's been closed. I'm not exaggerating. I think it's been closed for maybe a couple of years, I would guess. So let's go and see what insurmountable obstacles are resulting in this path being closed for so long. Before we go, you can see here that this barrier they built. This is what happens with the council. The path's closed, they put a little barrier, people walk around it. They put an even bigger barrier, people walk around that one. They put an even bigger one, people go around that one. Eventually they end up like setting in concrete these huge metal steel screens across paths, which I'm sure take more effort than it would take to fix the path. But anyway, let's see what the problem is on this path. Here we are. Trees fallen over in the wind, so that part of the path disappeared, so they could just divert the path, just dig in a little bit there, job done. That seems pretty straightforward to me anyway. Is that what you call an erratic? I think it might be. Right, so we're now getting to another barrier. This is a barrier across a path that's already closed. This is an example of what I mean, where they end up like making these more and more substantial barriers that people just walk around like that. So what's the problem at this point? Well, this pipe come across, and this was only installed about maybe 6 years ago, and there was a little bridge over it. The bridge is gone, and I don't know, it's at least a year, maybe a couple of years. This has been sitting here like this. It just needs a wooden platform put in over the top and it's fixed. Alternatively, they could just bury the pipe in soil and make a walkway over the top. But here we are. That's a great barrier, isn't it? That's more to keep the lawyers happy than to actually keep people out, I think. Anyway. Just to be fair, this is a bridge that's in one piece that you can walk over. I don't want to exaggerate. And here we are at the centrepiece of the Dell. There's a lovely weir. If you haven't been to the Colinton Dell in Edinburgh, well worth a visit, absolutely lovely. Here's the bridge. You're supposed to stand on and enjoy the lovely view up and down the river. I mean, this bridge has been closed for, I'm not exaggerating, we're talking like 2 or 3 years, I would say 2 or 3 years. Now if you look here, you can see this bridge is on some stonework supports that are perfectly intact. It's supported by what looks like steel girders that are perfectly intact. All it needs is a new wooden platform on top. And it's been like this for year after year. Now they talk about encouraging active travel, encouraging people to cycle and walk, but I'm not too bothered about cycle lanes all over the place to ride my bike. I want to be able to go along the Water of Leith and use the paths that actually exist. I'd be interested to know the figure. I mean, during the last 10 years, on how many days has it been possible to cycle from one end of the Water of Leith walkway to the other with no diversions? I honestly think the number of days would be 0, because there's diversions, there's blockages, one place after another, and they often last for years and years. Now this bridge here, imagine this bridge was the only way in and out of Amazon's depot in Dunfermline. How long would that take to get fixed, do you think? If that collapsed in the morning, how long would it be before the Amazon vans were going backwards and forwards again over the bridge? It would probably be measured in hours rather than years. Okay, they're going to throw money at the problem, they get it done more quickly for some reasons, but is there really any excuse for this taking 2-3 years to get fixed? Absolutely not. It's outrageous, it's complacency. Because what they're more bothered about, as I say, is putting bollards up and spaces for people and cycle lanes and widened pavements. That really, does anyone want them? I haven't met them. If they do, whether this is something that people really do want, they really do appreciate, they need, enhances the environment, it's what the council ought to be doing, but it seems they're just not bothered. And what we have here is the main path up into the centre of Colinton, where people who live there in the village could come down for their stroll in the Dell. Again, this has been closed, I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say for years. It says due to a landslip. I mean, really, is it really impossible to get the path going up there? I really don't think it is. I'm sure that could have been fixed. Where there's a will, there's a way. But it seems the council is just happy to build ever more elaborate barriers, leave paths closed for years on end, because basically their focus is elsewhere. They say they're interested in active travel and keeping fit and people walking around, but it seems like that's not the real priority. I don't know if you've noticed the amount of Scottish Government advertising on YouTube, etc. It's unbelievable. But I saw an advert from the government a couple of months ago, and it was advising me to go for a walk. A message from the Scottish Government saying it's a good idea to go for a walk. Well, if the Scottish Government could pass on to the SNP-led Edinburgh Council to repair the paths where people go for walks, that would probably be a better use of the money. So, Edinburgh City Council, just do your job, please. The signs, I'm not sure anyone really needs signs to tell them where the Dell is. I'm not sure there's any point in that. But can you just do the basics? Just maintain what already exists. That would be great. Thanks. Just to finish on a brighter note, this is the mural that's been painted on the inside of the old railway tunnel. And that's actually very good. It's got the words for Robert Louis Stevenson's poem about a train, and, well, I'll let you see it. We're going backwards, I'm afraid, if you're trying to follow the words, but you get the idea. You see lots of visitors come into this. It's a really great community project. One thing I have to say I like about it is often with these things, you're expected to be preaching at you at some point, but there's not a bit of it. It's just about the history of the area, the poem, wildlife, etc. Very nice.